Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of the Mindful Productivity Podcast. I've been lucky enough to start this podcast off with a guest. Some of you may already know him. He is probably one of the most productive people I know. He has a podcast together with his co-founder Toos Joe. He maintains, updates and develops Toos. He's super active in the Discord community. He writes on Medium, reads a lot of books, and eats oatmeal every single day. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Toos Parker to the first episode of this podcast.
Thank you, Daniel. Means a lot. When you started it, it brought me back to your videos, so it was a surreal experience.
Yeah,
It,
let me just start off with the idea of eating oatmeal every day and filming it. Where did that come from?
well, I already eat oatmeal every day, and we were looking for a marketing campaign, so it was very easy to integrate. I don't do it anymore, actually. Joe asked me to stop, but I still eat my oatmeal. I've got my leftovers from lunch.
So it started as a sort of marketing campaign.
Well, yeah, I was eating oatmeal for probably a year before that every day. And then at some point we were like, if I'm doing this every day so consistently, we may as well turn it into some sort of marketing.
Yeah, okay. So you developed and started the app called Toos that a lot of people, at least following me, already know about. But if you had to describe yourself, how would you do it? Who are you as a person? Who is Parker?
Yeah. I would identify as a creator. So I just like creating things, building things, but I'm also just like a learner. I'm someone who's been very fortunate to live an amazing life surrounded by amazing people. So I'm just a lucky person.
That's a good way to view your life.
Thank you.
But have you always been a creative person since you were young? How did your child years look like?
Yeah, I think that I've always been drawn to creating things. I mean, I'm also pretty competitive, but um, like Legos were a big thing for me when I was growing up. So I spent a lot of time like building and imagining things and like building spaceships out of Legos. That turned into like Sims. I played a lot of Sims and I would like build homes. And then I thought that I wanted to be an architect when I grew up. But I've always just been into building, creating Minecraft, um, just something that I like to do.
Yeah, and you talked about Sims and wanting to become an architect. When did you figure out that it wasn't an architect you were supposed to become?
Yeah, it wasn't until college actually. So I went to college as a mechanical engineer. I don't really know what architects major in, but I was a mechanical engineer, and in the first, I went to Vanderbilt University, and in the first semester, Vanderbilt has a program where you have to test out three different majors in the first semester and do 3 weeks in each. And I did mechanical engineering, computer science, and computer engineering. And that's when I learned that you can architect with software and build things with software. Blew my mind, and I switched to my major immediately.
Yeah, and you have built a few apps before, built a few apps before. Would you like to tell us a little more about the apps you have built before
Uh,
TUS?
sure. So I got really into like self-reflection, and one of actually something that we'll talk about here in a minute, but one of them is called Seven Levels Deep, and it's this exercise that I learned on a podcast to kind of learn about you, understand your why, and uh, yeah, so that was just a very simple exercise, 7 question exercise that I built. I was also collecting a lot of questions to reflect on in an Excel document at one point, and I had about like 300 questions, and I just turned that into a daily reflection exercise called Muse. The first one called Seven Levels Deep. I don't know if I said that. And then I used to track habits in an Excel sheet, and I just wanted a simpler way to do that. And I'm not very good at Excel. I'm not good at the graphs and things, but I wanted to visualize how different habits impacted other habits. So I built something that I call Aware, but it's just a daily activity tracker. All of these kind of embody self-reflection, learning about yourself, becoming a better version of yourself. Um, so that's something that I get really excited about. Did I miss one? I think that, oh, tens. I can't forget about tens. Tens is a Nerf basketball game that we used to play in college where you get 10 shots split up into 2 rounds of 5 and you try to go 10 for 10. And when we played the game a lot, I didn't know how to build apps. I always wanted to build an app, but I didn't know how to do it. And then I think during my first job out of college, I built it. And now we use the app when we play here in the apartment. We have a Nerf basketball hoop set up. It's in the background of a lot of my videos. Um, but yeah, I love tracking stats and seeing how I'm doing.
Which is a thing that the TOOS does well,
Yep,
tracking everything
yep,
all the time.
yeah, yeah.
And you mentioned self reflection and the love for self reflection. When did that interest come?
So that came in my freshman year of college. I suffered with depression, and my mentor, or yeah, kind of like student mentor at college, said that I should talk to people. And I'm an introvert. I don't really talk to many people. So I talked to a Google document and would just kind of like reflect on my life and write things down and journal. And it just kind of like taught me a lot about myself. And I would realize that, a lot of the problems in my head were just problems in my head. And once you like see them visually, um, you just uncover a lot, learn a lot. And I got really into reading. And when I was reading like a lot of like self help and personal development books, they ask a lot of questions. And I was just intrigued by these questions. I didn't have a lot of the answers. And I wanted to learn more about myself, because I felt like a lot of my life was just living up to other people's expectations or doing what other people expected of me. But it would leave me kind of like unfulfilled and not really connecting with a lot of the work that I was doing. So I just enjoyed the process of learning about myself so that I could do more of the things that would really make me feel happy and fulfilled. Um, so that was part of it.
Yeah, yeah, because my therapist once told me that I should talk to people as well, but just like you, I'm an introvert, so I talk to all of my notebooks. Uh,
Exactly.
so I completely understand how that feels. And after doing a lot of self reflection, I'm guessing that you figured out what you wanted to do, and you wrote somewhere that your mission is to help people do what they love. Why is that your mission? Why is that your goal in life?
So that was something that I learned from the Seven Levels Deep exercise. So I was listening to Lewis Howes' School of Greatness podcast, and the guy named Dean Graziosi was on it, and he was the one that introduced the exercise. And I stopped the episode, did the exercise, and that was when I really learned that I was doing so many things in my life just to please other people, like just to look good in their eyes or not let them down or make them happy, whatever it was. And it really was going against so much of what I value and what I cared about. Um, and I realized a lot during college that me spending time on the things that mattered to me made me a lot happier than just fitting in with the crowd and doing what everybody else was doing. So it was just a very eye-opening exercise for me where I was like, I really need to lean into what makes me happy and what I enjoy. And I need to help other people do the same thing. I need to like show them that they can do the same thing. They can learn about themselves and they can do more of the things that they care about. Um, so that's kind of like what I try to do is lead by example, but also help other people with tools for reflection, tools to learn about themselves, just so they can do more of those things in their life as well.
Yeah, and you said that you did a lot of things to please others. Can you mention some of the things? Like, was it the career you chose, or was it the things you did? What was it exactly?
Yeah, growing up, it was a lot of sports. So I was very active in sports and I enjoyed them, but I wouldn't say that if I were to potentially do it all over again, I may not spend as much time playing sports. And a big part of it was like I quit baseball. Baseball was probably my least favorite sport. I quit baseball going into high school. And I remember how upset I was because I felt like I was letting down my parents. Like they had put me through Little League and travel baseball, and I just felt like I was letting them down. And when I went to tell them I don't want to play baseball anymore, I was like, I couldn't contain myself. I was very emotional, sort of like how I am right now. Um, but it was just because I was letting them down. But it was I knew so well inside of me that I did not want to play baseball, and it was like the last thing that I actually wanted to be doing. Um, so yeah, sort of like that. In college, it was a lot of like partying. That just wasn't what mattered to me. Um, so those are a few examples.
Uh, because I know the feeling of doing something to please your parents or your family. So I am Middle Eastern. Both of my parents are Iranian, even though I live in Norway. And in Middle Eastern families, there are four things you can become after you have graduated. It's either lawyer, engineer, doctor, or failure. And I am the fourth one.
I'm not so sure about that. That's funny though.
Because I visit my parents every single weekend, and each weekend I try to explain to them what I actually do at my job because I'm a social media marketer. No way. No way they can understand.
That's great.
So it is really important to do things for yourself. And as you said, you want to help others do the same. How exactly do you want to do that?
I mean, a lot of it is the tools that I build, um, but I also hope to just do it through example. Like I enjoy being on this podcast and being able to just like talk about it and talk about how powerful like we are and that we can do so much if we just try. And a lot of that is like discomfort of going against what people may believe or what they expect you to be doing. Um, but yeah, a lot of it is the tool like or is the tools that I build. Like the daily reflection is just meant to help people think and learn about themselves, set goals. Like it's a lot of it is like what can you be doing better or what do you want to be doing? What do you want to be doing in 5 years? Things like that. Twos is obviously like just it's basically like a blank space to write and learn about yourself. Like write obviously it's for writing things down and there's a whole host of things that you need to write down that are external from you, but it's also just a place to learn about yourself and write things down, write down your goals, the things that you care about, what you want to do. Um, so yeah, building tools that give people the space because a lot of it is we just don't even take the time to be quiet and listen to ourselves. We're just bombarded with external stimuli and um, what other people care about or what other people are asking for you from you. Um, so it's kind of like building a space for people to do that, as well as just sharing my own learnings and what I try to care about, so that um, just to give people an alternate perspective.
And you mentioned tools. When did you actually start building tools?
I started building it just at the start of my junior year. I'm sorry, senior year of college. Um, the summer between my junior and senior year, I was at a Padres game with my father, San Diego Padres baseball team, and probably didn't want to be there, but I'm glad that I went because it gave me the idea. Um, but I was sitting there looking on the outfield, thinking about all of the things that I write down that no one knows about. Like I write down goals in Apple Notes, or I was writing down programming things that I was learning in Evernote. I was journaling heavily in Google Docs, but none of those are, I'm like sharing any of that with my parents, my friends, anything like that. It's very like personal. And I was just thinking about how odd it is that platforms are really built either purely private or purely public. Like Twitter and Facebook at the time was just like you only go there if you want to share something with other people. And I was just thinking, what if there was a tool that you could like write things down in one place and then share some of them? You don't have to share everything, but you can just like jot down a bunch of things on a day and then say like, this is one thing that I would like to share. This is one thing I would like to share. So it was kind of like a split down the middle. And I just thought that was a very cool and unique idea. I thought that like, you're going to be more honest than if you were just writing on Twitter, because you're like feeding into people's expectations in some way. So just a unique experience of being true to yourself and writing things down just that you care about, but then being able to share and connect with other people. So I basically learned how to build apps that summer. I had an internship that I was doing that in, but I was still waking up super early and staying up really late, like doing online courses to try to figure out how to build apps. And then when I got back to school, I kind of like brainstormed everything and just built it senior year, which was fun.
So you started building tools, then you got a couple of jobs, at least one job I wanted to talk about, because you had a dream of working at Google at one point. How was that?
I mean, it's the best. It was the best job I ever had. But I like to say that the pizza delivery job that I worked in high school was my favorite job of all time, but Google was probably better than that. It's it
Let's
was
say
yeah,
it's a tie.
yeah, we'll call it a tie. It's a great resolution there. But I mean, it's wonderful. They treat you super well. They actually care about you. You're working on products that are used by millions and billions of people, like literally billions of people. So it was a what they paid tons of money. Like it was a wonderful experience. Worth the wait. I had wanted that since college, like very bad, and it was a great experience.
So you enjoyed it and it was amazing. Then the question becomes, why would you ever quit a job like that?
It it wasn't what I felt like I should be doing. It wasn't like something that I found a lot of meaning in. Like it was cool, but once you kind of have the necessities taken care of, then you kind of look for something that's going to give you a little bit more meaning, and like purpose. And there you're just especially as like an early engineer, there's nothing special about you. Like everybody there is smart. Anybody could be plug and play into your role and would have basically the same impact as you. So there's nothing special about it. Um, but I basically got to the point where I felt like I wanted to be working on twos. I had a agreement that I would not share twos with anybody because of Google Keep. So I was like constantly talking to the code of conduct people, um, and I just wanted to share the idea of twos out with more people. So that was a big pull. But really, it was like I am doing this for the money, but I'm very frugal. I save or invest basically everything that I make. And it was just like, I don't need the money. So what am I truly doing this for? And a lot of it was fear of like going out on my own and trying to make something of twos. Um, so eventually I just had to call it and get out of there.
And you then ended up working on Two's full time.
Yes.
And how is that going?
I mean, it's lovely. I get to wake up and work on Tuesday every day. Um, it's I mean, any startup I think people say is like challenging, and it's definitely been challenging, and like there's a lot to figure out and a lot to do in order to grow, and that's probably been like our biggest challenge is how do we grow faster. Um, so yeah, it's just like a lot of uncertainty and a lot of unknowns that when it's your first time building something, you don't necessarily know what you don't know. So yeah, you don't, it's a lot of confusion, but I mean, it's a very different feeling waking up now than when I was waking up working at Google or working at any of my other previous jobs where I just like didn't feel connected with what I was doing and I actually felt like I was doing the wrong thing. Now I've never had a second guess of being like, is this really what I should be doing? Like I feel so aligned with how I should be spending my day that I don't know. I to me it feels like the right decision.
Because what you're talking about is actually finding your purpose and trying to do that. And I would like you to, if it is possible, to try and explain what that feels like. Like waking up every day and knowing that you are doing the thing you're supposed to.
I mean it is hard to explain because I feel like previously there was friction in what I was doing. Like it would be like why am I why am I going to this job? Or like I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. Where like I remember having physical, maybe it was mental, I'm not exactly sure, pain waking up and like going to work at Google, even though it was an amazing place, because it was not what I was meant to be doing in a lot of ways. So it actually was painful for me. Like I was going against myself in a lot of ways. And now that is just, I don't experience that. And sure, I experience, I don't know if I would refer to it as pain, but just like frustration with, lack of results, or sometimes it's overwhelming. I open myself up to a lot of people so I field a lot of requests and inbound, and a lot of that can be overwhelming to, you know, just deal with. But I wouldn't say that I'm like going against myself. I Yeah, I just don't feel the same friction. I just feel much lighter, um, and happier. Where the overwhelm passes, whereas previously a lot of the friction wouldn't. I would still feel like I was somewhat locked up.
Yeah. And when you decided to go full time on TUS, did you ever think that you would be able to build a community of people that really, like, really loves the app?
Um, I mean, I have a lot of faith. Like I think what makes it easier for me, or what made like the decision to do it, is I have a lot of faith in the platform. I have a lot of faith in it to help a lot of people, but I definitely don't. I didn't. The community has been. I mean, we didn't plan that. Like, it didn't really. We didn't know what we were doing. We kind of just like set it up, and it's been very organic to grow on its own. And it's something that we wish we were better at, honestly. But that's just, I don't know. We're just basically figuring it out as we go. But it is every time we receive a message from anybody saying that they love the app, or that it resonates with them, or that it fits how they think, or whatever it may be, it's amazing. Like, we're in awe of that. We never expect that. We only hope to create that. Um, so having that is very special.
Yeah, and how does the future look for TUS? What are you thinking about going forward?
I mean, it hasn't changed too much since the beginning in a lot of ways. Like, we still want to build what we refer to as the best place to write, remember, and share things. So write things down, remember things that you write down, and then share some of the things that you write down. Um, and that's just what we hope. Like, we really, what we talk a lot about is people have to make a decision of where they're going to write something down, or if they write something down, how are they going to be able to remember it in the future? Or if they do want to share something, and a lot of times they have to like move it, or figure out how to give somebody access of it, take a photo of it, whatever it may be. And we just have this belief in a platform where people don't necessarily need to ask those questions. They don't need to make a decision every time that they write something down. How am I going to be able to remember this? Where should I put this? We want to basically eliminate that with this platform that is the best place to write, remember, and share things. So just getting better at each of those, like getting better at capture. There's a lot of forms of capture that we don't currently do, like audio and video. Remembering, we're decent at that, but there's a lot of AI improvements that we can make. There's a lot of just like memorization techniques that we can use that other platforms have. And then sharing is just, I mean, there's so much that we can do in sharing. We have this idea of a marketplace that we want to create. So there's just like, on each of those pillars, there's plenty of room to improve and get better.
It is always room to improve things, but TUS is probably one of the easiest places to write things down. Did you ever think about the fact that it had to be easy for people to use it?
100%. I appreciate you saying that. That was like the core of it, right? It's like, when I have something in my head that I need to write down so that I don't forget it, we need to make that as quick and easy as possible. And there are a lot of tools that do that very well. I don't know if they do all of the pillars as well as we do, um, but it needs to be so quick and so easy so that there's less friction into doing that. Like, a lot of people will have something and they'll be like, I need to write that down, but maybe there's so much friction to actually do it that they just will be like, I'll just tell myself that I'll remember it. Or like, there's not enough like motivation to figure out where they're going to write something down, or like to write it down, that just breaks everything in a lot of ways. Even like journaling. Like a lot of people will tell themselves, I need to journal, or I wish I journaled more. I want to journal. But then it's like, all right, well now I got to go to the store and pick up a journal, or my pen is over there, so I don't really want to do it. We're just trying to make. There's so many benefits in writing things down and being able to remember things, get things off your mind, that we need to make that initial step as easy as possible so that the benefits are maximum. It's like the more that you write down, the more you're going to be able to remember in the future.
Yeah. And I personally mostly use tools to save positive things. So whenever I feel a little down, I can jump into tools and I can go through, for example, positive YouTube comments. I have them all inside of a list in tools because it is just so simple to capture.
Love
And
that.
I mostly use the WhatsApp integration to capture things because I do not like to click into the app. Once I click into the app, I really want to start organizing right away. So I
Yeah.
only use the WhatsApp integration. But it is a highly competitive market, the productivity space. How do you feel about the current state of productivity apps with things like Notebook LM, Mem, even things like Lazy, which is coming? What are your thoughts on the current state of productivity apps?
I think it's very positive. Like I think that the easier that we make it for people to write things down or be able to organize information, the better for everyone basically. Um, I do think that all of them do it in kind of their own way. So that tools make sense for certain people in certain situations. We care a lot about just writing things down and like having a place to write things down, regardless of what it is, regardless if it's like notes, tasks, reminders, whatever it may be. But it's just like the capture of things. And a lot of the tools, I mean, everybody kind of has their own strategy. A lot of them are very complex. So maybe you'll get the added benefits, but it takes more time to like set it up or more time to learn and figure out how the system will work for you. Um, or they're just designed for different markets. Like a lot of them may be designed more for a team environment or like enterprise, whatever it may be. We care a lot about like individual people and just like helping people write more things down and remember things. So yeah, it's all very positive and allows people the choice of what they care to use and get the most value out of. A lot of choice out there.
Yeah, and there is a lot of things coming with AI. There are so many new apps coming every single day, and I can't even keep up. And I post a video every single day. What are your thoughts on AI together with an app like Tus?
I mean, I think it's wonderful. I think that the I've been spending some time kind of learning more about vector databases and um, probably doesn't matter. I think that it will be what's so cool about it is that the more that you put into it, the smarter the system will be in a lot of ways. So, we have worked hard on the search and making the search very good, but with AI, it's just like a superpower of that. Like you could literally ask it anything and it will be able to return whatever's related to what you're searching for. Also, just creation. We were joking yesterday, like I've taken a lot of notes on the overall topic of stoicism, but it would be cool to just be like write up a blog about stoicism because I know that I've written a lot about it. Um, so it's just using it in ways to kind of just like make your life easier in some ways, or just resurface information better. I think that the MIM has done a great job of it. I do think that there is room for not receiving input back at you when you're trying to capture things. I mean, it's similar to not wanting to open the app. Um, but a lot of the AI tools is like you write something, they say something back to you. You write another thing, they say something back to you. A lot of times you just want to say things. You don't want anything talking back at you and like getting in your train of thought or whatever the saying is. Um, so yeah, I think that there's like a balance of AI, but overall very positive.
And I have one last question for you, and I'm really excited to hear the answer. Where do you see twos in 5 years?
The thought that I the thought that I had, which was it's a joke that Joe and I say, is that we're gonna buy Google. Um, but no, I mean I think it would. Our hope is that two or writing things down or twos become synonymous with writing things down. So when you have something to write down, twos is the place that the majority of people think of. Like, I have something I need to write down. I want to use the best place to write things down. Maybe I don't want to use Apple Notes. Like maybe it's the best, maybe it's not the best. Um, but it just kind of fosters this habit or just action of writing things down when you want to write things down or you need to write things down, get things off of your mind. So it's just becoming more and more of this phenomenon of writing things down and having people actually do that more. Because a lot of cases, a lot of like the chaos of our minds can be cured through that, or just like how you want to live. If you like write down what your goals are, or you write down the things that you need to do, a lot of the like stress and under just like chaos of your daily life can be honed in by making it clear on what you want to do. Um, so yeah, making it synonymous, making twos synonymous with writing things down.
Yeah, and I will be following along, and I'm really excited to see the app develop. And thank you so much for joining me on this podcast.
My
It was
pleasure.
it
My
was really
pleasure.
fun having you here. And for everyone watching, where can they find you?
I'm Twos Baller, TwosBaller on everything. Or ParkerKlein.com. That's like I mean Klein's not the easiest last name. Twozap.com.
And I will link to SAP down below for everyone wanting to try it out. We recommend it.
Twos?
Yeah.
Highly. Highly recommend it.
Not biased at all.
No, no, no. I mean, if you want the best place to write things down, it's solid.
Thank you so much for watching this first episode, and I hope to see you again quite soon.